It's here. It's finally the Ugly Duckling Challenge day. I love this challenge. This challenge is hosted by Corey from Desert DIY. She is also the judge. Like, she picks a winner. 1 week after the video airs, she picks a winner, and whoever wins gets to get like bombarded on everyone's social media as the winner. So it's some awesome exposure. So if you're not subscribed to her already, I'm gonna leave all of her information and the playlist so you can watch all the videos in the description box below. Now, what is the challenge? You have to find something really bad and ugly, and you have to turn it into a swan, just like the Ugly Duckling story. So let's get into what piece did I pick. This vanity, a couple of months ago, I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and in the pictures, I could see all the brush strokes and the brush marks and the drips and the globs, and I know there's latex paint on there. I knew this was my Ugly Duckling piece. All right, so let's take this ugly duck and make it a beautiful swan. The first thing I have to do is remove all the hardware from the piece. By taking the top off, I'm actually going to be able to clean this piece up much better than I would if I had kept it on. And I'm also going to have to use the chemical stripper on the hardware. I'm covering up this middle section because when you're using a chemical stripper, it can get really, really messy. So I just don't want all these drips to go down into that center part. I'm going to paint over that. So I don't want it to get extra messy. And whenever I'm using a chemical stripper, I like to work in sections. So I'm gonna remove the latex paint from the top and then the center and then the legs. This way I don't get overwhelmed with the huge mess that it makes. And it does make a mess, especially when you're like the edges, the lip of the piece. Oh, it can get so messy. This way it doesn't overwhelm me and I feel like there's a little bit more organization. So to clean up all of the Klean strip off of the piece, I use my super fine steel wool and I use some mineral spirits. I'm also using a wire brush to get some of that paint and some of the Klean strip off of the sides. And then I just continue this process down the whole piece. When I finish stripping the whole entire piece, I use my mouse sander and I just kind of go over it to make sure that there is nothing left on the piece that I don't want, no chunks or anything. So I already sanded it and then I took it in the house. It took 2 days to strip and sand. So then I took it in the house and we're gonna give it a really good clean with some Crud Cutter. While I'm cleaning, I'm making sure to get rid of this looks like hard candy, any kind of imperfections. I want my finish to be really smooth. So I'm using my wood filler to fill in any gaps, and I'm just making sure everything is smooth and clean. These little things hold a mirror in, so I'm gonna order a new mirror off of Amazon because it didn't come with one. The top of this is not wood and it's pretty shiny, so I'm using a bonding primer. I'm using Slick Stick, 2 coats of it, and I will wait about 2 hours in between coats. And then I'll wait 12 hours until I apply my paint. The longer you can wait, the better. And this is so that the paint adheres properly to the piece. When I'm looking to get a really, really smooth finish, I do a really light sanding, even in between the coats of the primer. My grit is super, super fine, so you could even use a brown paper bag for this. I'm not trying to knock anything off or really like sand anything. I'm just trying to smooth out, make sure that I have dogs, so make sure there's no dog hairs or anything. And then for the rest of the piece, after I used the chemical stripper, there was all this darkness and just a lot of imperfections. So I'm going to prime this with Dixie Belle's Boss, which is a blocking primer. It blocks any stains, any odors, and any tannins. So it's pretty ideal. And I'm using this one as opposed to the bin shellac because it's water-based and it's super easy to clean up. So now, because I have all this blank space, I'm gonna add a wood you bend to really decorate the center of this. So adding a wood you bend is just another great way to, make your piece exciting and interesting and beautiful. So I use my heat gun to heat up the wood you bend, because once it's heated, you can bend it and it'll go on the piece. I'm really awkward right now putting it on with my wood glue, but after a couple of seconds, it'll stay in place. And then I just heat it up again. And once it's on and I've given it like 5 minutes, I take my water mister and I spray it on the wood you bend. And then I just take a fresh brush and I get rid of all of the excess glue. I'm still priming the inside of this with the Dixie Belle Boss. I'm going to paint it, but it definitely needs a primer because there's just marks that refuse to come off with any kind of cleaner or scrubbing. Right now I'm applying a base coat. I've already applied it to the bottom. This is only the first coat. My base coat is always a test run. I'm experimenting with the colors that I'm going to use, the placement of the colors, how wide they're going to be, even just practicing my blend. So I didn't show you the entire process for the base coat because usually it doesn't end up the same way for the second coat, which is my final coat. To start prepping for that second coat, I'm going to use some of this green frog tape just because I don't want there to be a ton of drips and I need these 3 pieces to connect. So I'm gently laying it tilted so that the design can connect from one piece to the next. When I'm blending with Dixie Belle's chalk mineral paint, I like to use my mister. Actually, I use my mister every time I use this chalk mineral paint because it gives such a smooth brushstroke free finish. So I'm starting out on the edge where I want it to be a little bit darker with Stormy Seas. That's the name of the color. It's kind of like a blue, gray, green. It goes so beautifully with the color combo that I chose. So the plan is to use 3 colors and to give it a really soft, elegant blend. And I'm going to link all the products that I use in the description box below. So if you're curious on the colors, be sure to check that out. And my next color is Vintage Duck Egg. I have the tiniest amount left of Vintage Duck Egg, and I'll tell you, it did the whole entire piece. I mean, it is the bottom. But when you mix the chalk mineral paint with the water, it goes such a long way. So that is one of the reasons I started using this paint in the first place. Here I start blending the 2 colors. So I have Stormy Seas and Vintage Duck Egg, and they're pretty close to each other. So if they blend, I know that the blend is going to be really nice. And I want it to be kind of seamless. I just want it to look like there's a shadow on the end. So I'm using 3 colors, and it's going to be dark on the outer edges, medium on the inside, and then the center is going to be like the highlight, so it's going to be a lot lighter. So I'm taking the 3 colors and I'm blending them 2 at a time. So the first 2 are getting the blend, and now I'm about to add in the center. The color I'm using in the center is called Sawmill Gravy. Now what I like to do when I'm adding that center highlight is bring it all the way out to the other 2 colors. That's how I get that seamless blend. You're not covering the other 2 colors because by the time the color stretches out all the way to the ends, it's pretty soft and it's already mixed with the other 2 colors. And notice that I am dragging this into the center piece of the vanity so that when I start doing that section, I know where my blend starts and begins and everything will be really cohesive. Now here's the star of the blending show. That is the dry brush. After you've kind of blended and moved around all the colors, I like to go back with the dry brush, a really soft, the Dixie Belle Mini brush is super duper soft. So I use that one and I'm hardly touching this piece. Like if you could see, my hand is like just kind of grazing over it, and it just mixes on its own that way, and all the seams tend to disappear. And the only reason it looks like the blend has faded is because the paint is still wet. So you have to trust the process, because once it dries, that Stormy Seas will come back dark again. And here I'll show you in a sped up motion how I just continue that same process down the whole top of this. Now moving down the piece, I know that I have my color scheme and I'm just going to apply it in the same manner with the Stormy Seas as my dark color, so it'll be around some of the outer edges, and then most of the piece is going to be that vintage duck egg. And that's it. That is the process that I follow through the whole entire vanity on the sides and then down the front. Now, I know that the blend is special on its own, but I gotta add something extra. I have this Overflowing Love furniture transfer by Redesign with Prima, and I think it'll go perfect with this piece. I do have to cut off the saying, but what's left on there, it's fine. It's still love overflows and joy never ends. So it's kind of romantic, and the pink on the green, there's a little bit of gray. It just goes really, really nice. So I apply the furniture transfer like I would a sticker, and then I take that stick that they apply in the furniture transfer tube and I just rub it on. Then I grab the paper and it starts to peel right off of this front paper, and then it sticks on the piece just like it would like a sticker or one of those temporary tattoos. And my last step is to use a super, super, super fine sanding pad and just make sure that it's on really good, that there's no bubbles. I'm taking off, it's something that's called a halo, which is like, it looks like a halo around the transfer, and that little sanding will take it right off. And then I cut up more of the flowers from the transfer, and I add some of the remainder on the piece because I want this to look really balanced. And now for all the finishing touches, I have to use the citrus strip on the hardware, and I want to show you how I do that because a few people have asked me. So I'm just gonna use a little paintbrush, paint it on there, and then put it in a baggie. I leave it for about an hour, and then when I come back, I basically just smear it while it's in the baggie, and the latex comes off and the citrus strip comes off, and then I wash it with some Dawn dish soap. Now I'm adding a little bit of Fusion Metallic paint and champagne on the would you bend, and I'm just going over the top of it, the front of it, and that's about it. I was thinking about adding some wax for some depth, and that would be gorgeous, but I want this to be like just really light and fresh and soft. So this is all I'm gonna do. This is all I'm adding to the would you bend. Now here I take the piece outside and I'm using my spray gun to seal it. I'm using Dixie Belle's Clear Coat in satin, and I apply 4 coats total. And for the hardware, I sprayed it with this metallic finish. It's gold and it just won't match at this point. The key to spraying hardware is light coats and make sure that it's completely dry before you put it back on your furniture. I've decided to add another would you bend to dress up the mirror that I ordered. I ordered it from Amazon, and like I said, I'll leave all the links in the description box down below. And once the vintage duck egg dries, I'm gonna use that metallic fusion and champagne on it. So for the mirror, I'm using Gorilla Glue. Usually when I glue a mirror, I use liquid nails, but I didn't have it. So I'm going with the Gorilla Glue, and after a couple days before I sell this, I'll make sure that it's on there really good. If not, I'll add those mirror clips once again. Here's that quick reminder of what we had before. It was just meh, ready for a landfill. And here's what it looks like today. Well, I gotta admit, I'm loving this transformation. I really love the color blend, I love the transfer, and I love those knobs. I'm curious on what you think. If you like the transformation, hit the like button. Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'm really hoping that I nailed the whole concept. I just love the idea of the ugly duck into the beautiful swan, so let me know what you think. And if you want to see more videos like this, I'd love it if you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time with another furniture makeover. Oh, take a vanity and chop it up and make nightstands? I don't understand why somebody would do that. Vanities are awesome. Oh my gosh, and look at this. Cutest shirt ever. I got this from Emily's Etsy shop for reconstructing Emily. So if you want, I'm gonna leave that in the description box below. It makes me feel very official. I wear it everywhere. Everywhere. It's like self-promotion. Somebody's like, oh, you're a furniture artist? Can you do my work? And I don't do commissions, so I'm always like, no, but check out my YouTube channel, See if I can take this, blow up and feel good. So let's glow this vanity up now, right? Come along with me and let's super flip this and make it a swan. I don't know. Does that make sense?